Greetings, everyone. Today we have a very special guest joining us today, Ted Cocuzza. He's going to join me, and we're going to discuss art, skateboarding, and more fantastic stuff. So, before we begin, I highly recommend you checking out more of his work at uswish on Instagram. And if you're hungry for more art inspiration, you can follow me at the Artistic Avenger. And if you're looking to level up your artistic skills, you can join the Artistic Avenger program. So, without further ado, let's get started.
What up?
Hello, Ted. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah, just chilling.
Cool. So you're currently in California, correct?
Yes, I am in Santa Cruz, California.
Perfect. Perfect. And goes along with,
Yeah.
you're working along with Santa Cruz skateboards.
Yep. Yes.
And look at that lovely collection back there. I remember when that collection first
the
came out.
Star Wars boards. Yeah, that's like a quarter of the Star Wars boards I have. Then I have a few others back there that are.
Yeah, I remember when those first came out. That was a very hot ticket item.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember they came out like right before I started at NHS, and I was already like starting to collect them. And then I started at NHS, and I was like, okay, cool. Now I could get as many of these I want almost. So stoked to have them all up here.
Nice. So what other pop culture, what other pop culture icons are you into?
I love Star Wars. I have the Santa Cruz Marvel decks in the other room over there. I was stoked on that when it came out. Into all that comic stuff, Star Wars nerd, like love nerding out on that stuff.
Yeah, I remember when those first came out, I think I hit you up immediately and was like, what do I got to do to get these?
I remember. I think you hit me up for a Venom board, but like by that time they were all sold out, and I couldn't find any. All I had was a sticker to send you.
Yeah. I still got that sticker. Still waiting to put it on something. I'll probably put it on a sketchbook now that I've started my full-on collection of those.
Yeah, it's the thing about stickers. Like once they're on something, that's it.
Yeah, I remember trying to peel off grip tape. And it's the same thing as trying to peel off a sticker off anything, and it's not coming off.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Sorry, I just looking for you there. There you go. All right. So, what are we going to be drawing today, Ted?
I got this skateboarding robot. It's like this robot doing a little pivot fakie on a barrier. I like drawing robots. I like skateboarding. I like putting them together. So sketched this up a couple weeks ago, and we're going to just ink it on the iPad today. Or digitally ink it on the iPad.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the digital ink versus regular ink during the upcoming, so famous Inktober event?
Oh, yeah. I remember I try to do Inktober every year. Well, I've been doing it every year since like 2016. And at first, before I was using the iPad, it was all like Sharpies and Microns and stuff. And then I got an iPad and I was like, for Inktober, I think I'm going to stick to pen and ink still or whatever, the traditional stuff. And then, I don't know, the busier I get, the more I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to do it on the iPad, put it all in one place, make it easier for myself. But no, I love using the iPad. Should I start drawing now, or are you doing the drawing?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and just go for it. Sure.
Yeah. I remember I was working in the art department at NHS, and this one dude had an iPad, and we were all like, "Whoa, he showed us all the stuff we could do with it, and it was like immediately it was like we all need iPads. So NHS art department all got iPads, and now I love working on it. Definitely, like I don't think it's. I used to be like, oh, is it cheating or is it cheesy? But it definitely just like streamlines the process a bit of
Yeah.
how you want to draw, and like definitely gets your art to a place where you really want it to be without having to like waste a lot of paper retracing and retracing and retracing and retracing. So, but I definitely there's still like I still like drawing with on pencil and paper too. So there's a time and a place for everything. Have you ever used an
Sorry,
iPad?
sorry, I was on mute right there. The dogs were going a little buck wild in the
Yeah, it's
background.
all good.
But yeah, no, I don't think it's necessarily cheating. I did dabble with the iPad for a little bit, and it's definitely, there's a little bit of a lag, but I think they definitely upgraded that with the new iPencil. But yeah, I
Yeah,
remember, it's still got the same thing. If you're not doing quick strokes, they're gonna come out all sketchy and well, not sketchy, all curvy and not exactly what you want. Is that clean, fresh stroke?
yeah, and there's like so many ways to like mess around with like different pens and stuff. I kind of just use the basic stuff, like just the pens that come with the program. But I don't know. I like messing with different pens too on it. Different. That's the beauty of the iPad. There's a lot of different things to experiment. You don't have to go out and buy 1,000 different pens and see what works for you. You just have download them or something. They're all there.
Yeah, I always see that on Instagram and everything. Free brush set, free pen set, free whatever set. I always
Yeah.
see that, and then I kind of think to myself sometimes, man, that is really convenient as I'm surrounded by pencils, pens of all sorts. That when I go to the art store and just go
Yeah.
crazy on whatever starts to inspire me and everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
It's definitely
still got some controlled chaos over here, which I then end up when I'm coloring using Copic markers, I end up just throwing them across the floor in like
yeah.
the groups of shades and everything.
Yeah. I was definitely at a point at one time where my desk was just littered with pens and shit. But yeah, now they're all pretty collected right here because I just been mostly doing iPad these days. But I like to have like a little set for the sketchbook and stuff.
Nice. So do you still carry around a sketchbook at all?
I have one. I feel like I don't. I go in phases. There's phases where I'm like drawing in the sketchbook a ton, and then there's phases where I'm kind of like off it. It's so But I do want to get into the habit more of just drawing every day just for the sake of it. Sometimes I'm better at it, sometimes I'm not. But also I don't really like want to have to force myself to draw if I'm in a slump or something. Just allow myself to, I don't know, do some other things. But yeah,
Yeah,
I still have a sketchbook. Sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's not. But I always like to have one around.
nice. Yeah. What's your thoughts on, the whole you have to draw every single day type deal, just like, the whole Nike skate every damn day. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, draw whenever you feel like it. Like I mean,
Yeah,
it's good practice to draw every day and I respect it, but like I said, like you don't want to burn yourself out. I feel like I've definitely gotten to phases where I was just like, no, this is what I have to do every day, come home from work and then like after work I'm usually skating or something and then I get home, make dinner and then it's like already so late. And I'm like, all right, time to do a drawing. My brain is just fried. So it's
yeah,
like you got to allow yourself some time to like let your brain come up with ideas and let it rest so you can draw up stuff you're stoked on when you do get the time. But it's also good practice to do it every day. It's as long as you're having fun doing it.
yeah, absolutely. yeah, I found myself, once I first rekindled the passion, and just got that artistic fire going again. I was just drawing, and then I was like, I have to learn this, I have to learn that. I'm learning the basic shapes, I'm learning anatomy, and now I need to learn perspective, and I'm like,
Yeah.
just going, and then eventually I hit a wall and was like, I actually don't want to draw today.
Yeah, dude, it happens. Like
But then, you
it
take that,
happens with anything you love. Like
yeah,
there's times I'm like, dude, like I try to skate almost every day, and like recently I'm like,
well,
dude, you're gonna fucking hurt yourself doing this, like, or already are, like, you're gonna burn out. Just like your drawing brain needs just as much relaxation as your joints and
yeah,
muscles do.
absolutely. And there's the whole balance between, the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, and you got to balance that out. But yeah, similar to skating, the joints and everything is going to catch up to you at some
Yeah.
point or another. But I mean, following you on Instagram, I mean, it looks like you're doing both every damn day. You flip in, flip out, pivot tricks, blunt tricks, and then, pumping out these skateboarding robots left and right.
Yeah, try to keep a balance. They're both just I like that skateboarding and like drawing and art or whatever kind of go hand in hand. There's a place for both within
Yeah,
each realm. That's a think that's like part of one of the things that attracted to me about skateboarding when I started like back in the early 2000s, like 2000 or 2001 or something. Like I remember like looking through CCS and like seeing like all the cool art on decks. And I'm like, wow, someone has to draw these. Like, this is sick. Like, and a lot of them aren't even the best drawings, but they look cool.
yeah,
Like all the like old toy machine art and stuff that Ed Templeton would do. Like when I saw like the toy machine monster logo, I know Ed Templeton didn't do that logo specifically, but it's his brand, yada yada yada. But all that I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like this is a cool activity I wanna
dive
pursue.
into.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that some of the first art that actually inspired you, or what got you really into drawing and kind of pursuing it more? Was it that?
Well, yeah, like all the old toy machine Ed Templeton's a huge inspiration. Uh, but I was always drawing before I started skateboarding came after I started drawing, but then I realized they could kind of go hand in hand. But I've been drawing since I was like I could pick up a pencil um
Nice.
for or doodling or something, not just making marks on paper,
Yeah.
not necessarily the best stuff all the time, but
So did you ever like kind of have a lull or fall out of drawing growing up, or did you just continue like ever since day one when you were a kid?
um yeah, I mean, like I feel like when I started skateboarding, like that aspect of my life definitely took over. I was definitely skateboarding a lot more at a time in my life than I was drawing, but now I feel like I'm skating a lot still, and
Yeah.
I wish I was like drawing just as much, but sometimes get off work and I'm like, man, I just want to be outside or something. But
Yeah.
some drawing's a nice thing to do when you're indoors. But yeah, and then
I'm sure it came in handy more when you were back on the East Coast and the
oh
grueling
yeah, and it's
winters
like
and
snowing all the time or raining and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, like I said before, there's sometimes I'm like skating more than I'm drawing. Sometimes I'm drawing more than I'm skating. But I try to keep a good balance. And it's so easy to get caught up in this world of like, you know, with social media and stuff. Like, oh, you're seeing all these artists like pumping out the coolest art you've seen every day, and you're like, wow, like I did like one drawing in the past 2 weeks. Like, what am I doing? Like, but you can't hold yourself to all these standards. Just
Yeah.
do, and I should actually take my own advice, but it's easy to beat yourself up over it.
Yeah. And artists and skateboarders, we know that how to do that all too well.
Yeah.
You know, you spend hours and hours on a project or trying to land a trick, just beating yourself senseless. And
Yeah.
then you finally look at the footage or you look at the end result and you're like,
Like, I don't know about that.
that's all I did?
Yeah. Like looking at your footage, like, oh, I think my toe dragged a little bit right there. Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and do it tomorrow, man. And then even like drawing this right now, it's like you draw a line. I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that one. That's one of the dangers of the iPad. Like, oh man, that line wasn't perfect. Just don't tap it and redraw it. So it's like I gotta like teach myself to, like what you put down is like what's there. Like don't overthink every single mark you make.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was one thing that, I found myself kind of, I don't want to say cheating because again, it's not, it's just a new form and a great way of technology for people to adapt and learn and create pieces of art. But the one thing when I noticed that once I started trying an iPad, I found myself just not really trying to make those clear lines, those clean lines that I was trying to make. So I was like, oh, I'll just erase it again. Oh, I'll just hit
Yeah.
back. You know?
Yeah, I'm hitting the like tap undo like as we speak about how we need to get better. It's just like instinct at this point.
Yeah. One
But
thing that I've actually found really helpful with it is helping me with inking because I'll do my whole piece in the light blue and then I'll do the hard pencils and then I'll go to ink it and I'm kind of staring at it and I'm like, am I about to ruin this whole thing? Like
dude,
one
yeah,
line.
I feel the same way. I would do the same thing when I was like drawing a lot more traditionally. Like I would do the whole like photographic blue or red pencil. I still have like the red sketch on here. And like
Yeah.
sometimes you look at the sketch and you're inking over it, and I'm like, man, I liked how that sketch looked, but I don't know about how this inking is turning out. Like, man, like what did I do to make this sketch I'm stoked on that's not working for this? But you just keep working with it or going at it, and then at one point you get to a part where you're just like, you know what, this isn't that bad, or you hate it, like,
Yeah. Or you just hate it and you move on.
that's how it goes.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I impress in my program is like draw it and move on. Draw it and move on.
Yeah,
It's just gonna either
yeah, it's
beat
like
yourself up and not move on or not pick up a pencil again, or you're just going to just just not be happy with it and then just
yeah,
ultimately give up. So, you know, as the creative thinkers that we are, we always have these crazy ideas such as skateboarding robots,
yeah,
or more comic book style with, someone punching another person in the face. And it's like, okay, well, I got that idea, and now I got to get it out on paper, and then,
yeah,
get it out on paper, see how it came
yeah,
out, then save it, and then a year from now, draw it again and see how you improved, see where you didn't improve.
yeah, and I feel like every time you start a drawing, like you have some sort of idea of how you want it to turn out, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, or sometimes you just are like, well, I don't know how this is going, so I'm gonna wing it and just see what happens. But
Yeah, and that's kind of like what happens with inking. And to go back to what I was saying before with how the iPad helps with inking, because there's a lot of shadows that you just got to completely black out with ink. And I'm always
yeah,
scared to do so. So if I scan the image, the drawing, or if I take a photo of it and then put it on the iPad, then I can kind of test out where to, spot my blacks and just go pretty hard on it.
yeah,
And I can look at that for reference when, I'm doing it traditionally with actual ink.
yeah, totally. Yeah, that's another good thing about the iPad. It's like great for like, even if I know people that use the iPad like just for sketching and thumbnails and stuff, just so I don't have to keep retracing and tracing, but then we'll like transfer it to like paper and then ink it traditionally from there. So it's another tool to have in the toolbox for sure, no matter like what kind of art you're doing.
Yeah. So so you spoke a little bit about Templeton's artwork. What other artists, skating artists, what have you, kind of get
Yeah.
you motivated or bring some of your unique visions to life?
Yeah. I think one of the first ones that comes to mind would be Michael Sieben. I always loved his like he's like Ed Templeton. He has all these goofy little characters that he draws, and he's not they're not necessarily like the anatomy is correct and like they're like super detailed and stuff, but he like just draws them in a fun way that makes them look cool and they look rad on like skate products, and it's just unique. And
Yeah,
I always like that, like just because like you don't have to be like the most detailed oriented or like most accurate draftsman of all
yeah,
time to like be a good artist. Like you could not even be that good at drawing, but like if you can make it work for yourself. Like this robot, like there's the perspective is not necessarily correct or anything. Like there's a lot of things wrong with it,
there's
but
a lot of things right with it.
if you
You
draw it in
know,
a way that you're like, you know what, that's how it's supposed to look. Like that's kind of like what Sieben and Templeton would do. Just like you know what, this is like that's how you build your style. Like this is kind
yeah,
of like these are my flaws in my drawing, so I'm gonna like really like run with that, and then that kind of becomes unique to you.
yeah, and that's one thing I express a lot to other artists out there is don't look at them as flaws. Definitely look at them as learning curves and also your unique thought, your unique style, because it's
Yeah,
your way of problem solving. You know,
exactly.
maybe that leg isn't anatomically correct, but you problem solved it to make it look the way
Yeah,
you want it to look.
yeah, like this wheel, for example, like I don't know, it's not a perfect circle. I mean, but I didn't like how that unperfect circle came out, so I'm gonna undo it. But it's like, oh, but I'm not trying to get it to look like, oh, like where like, oh, I gotta get the wheel well correct and I have to get like the shading good. Like, oh, just take this little boxy cube thing, put a hole in it, and like there
Yeah, just
like
the
it's
final
almost
product, get the job
like how
done.
cavemen would just draw like stuff in symbolism or like hieroglyphics or something. It's like it gets the point across that it's a wheel, and if you can make it look cool, then that's what's up.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I've always expressed as well is much like skateboarding is having to warm up. A lot of artists tend to just dive right in and they get frustrated because something either doesn't look exactly how they wanted or they're trying to do a draw along and they're not pausing enough and they're trying to keep up with the artist and then they just get frustrated. you know and
Yeah,
that's why today is just like sports, just like skateboarding. You got to warm up. You can't just go in there and just start trying to 360 flip a 10 there. Just like the same thing. You can't go in to the drawing after not drawing all day and try to ink with a Q-tip pen.
totally. And like well, I will admit for this drawing right here, I'm going right into it. I didn't
So do
I
you?
was at work all day, and then and work usually, as much as I get to draw and illustrate at work every now and then, but it's mostly like a lot of like design
Yeah,
related stuff. But
more Photoshop, Illustrator type stuff.
yeah, but I think the whole inking process is kind of like it's more like therapeutic than like, whereas for this initial sketch, it's just a lot of gesture drawings and warming up and just figuring out like, okay, what's this robot doing? How is he going to be doing this pivot fakie?
Yeah.
And
So
just
what would your typical warm up be?
well, kind of just like you look up some reference photos, just quick Google pivot fakie, and just kind of start sketching like what you see there, and just real sloppy. Like I'll actually go into there's Procreate does
Got
the
a whole
whole
folder of everything.
time lapse thing. I could pull up real quick and kind of show you this. Like first I was like, oh, do I want to draw a robot doing a 360 flip? And it's like I'm messing around with that. I'm like, I don't know. I like pivot fakies, and then you kind of just like, and I have my reference photos pulled up for this that I'm looking at. So I'm just trying to like, and I'm not trying to get the figure like too exact. I'm just trying to, okay, how can I make this look like it has character, make them look cool? Like, okay, what parts can I enunciate? What parts are a little more subtle? And then just kind of like let it go from there. And then even tracing over like photos of like your reference works, and just like getting the motion for how your hand is going to be drawing this, or like, okay, like this is what it would look like if I drew over it. Now how do I want to alter this in a way that this is my drawing, and how do I like what do I like about this, and what do I not like about this? And then you could just kind of put that in your back pocket and then start drawing your own version after you've kind of messed around with tracing a little bit. So yeah, now let's see, we're working on building the little barrier right now, and
Little
then
the
cleaning up
DIY
the
action.
line a little bit. This is
Yeah.
always the fun part, when you're okay, this is almost like inking in a way, just
Yeah.
making that
No,
clean
for
line
sure.
sketch, and then
Yeah, it's finding
sometimes
the lines that you like.
yeah, and then it's like, oh, you mess around with the arm out, like how that arm looked, and then tighten it up a bit, and then I sometimes tell myself like, oh, this looks kind of cool, like, oh, now we're going into the
Getting caught up
inking
to speed
part,
with the
so
inking process.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, much like skateboarding, with finding the right lines and all that, find the right process of cleaning it up and putting the harder inks on. It's like, okay, well, do I manipulate, this curve here? Do I manipulate that curve here? Like when you're trying to film
Yeah,
a line, especially out there in the streets, you're like, okay, well, I gotta avoid this crack here. I gotta avoid
yeah,
that bump here.
exactly.
Gotta skip over here. Oh wait, would it be cool if I like kind of, bumped over this or wallied that?
Yeah, totally. And like even in like your comic drawings, like if you got a character punching someone, you want to really make it look like they're punching someone.
Yeah.
I remember I had that you know that book How to Draw the Marvel Way, came out
Oh
in
yeah.
like the 70s
Yep.
or something. I feel like every kid I knew had that book, that liked drawing growing up. I don't even know how I got my hands on it. It just appeared one day.
Yeah.
But there's a whole like bit on like, there's a guy, like they just have these generic characters, and like in one it's like, this is not how to do it, and he's punching him like that, and then there's like, this is how to do it. It's like, wow. And it's like, in real life, are you really gonna make these weird like gestures as you're punching someone? Like, but you just want to like
Absolutely.
really drive it home that this guy is getting smacked in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. How to Draw the Model Way definitely helped me when I first started getting back into drawing, and now it's a book that I recommend to anybody out there. And I'll go to half price books a good amount of time, to just get more affordable comic books and graphic
Yeah,
novels and all that. And I'll always look for a copy of How to Draw the Marvel Way, and that way, like if anybody comes over, I'm just like, here you go, take this,
yeah,
learn the basics,
it
call
holds
me in a
up.
week.
Like all that advice in there is like all the like techniques and stuff. It it's
They
still
knew what they were
solid.
doing.
It's not, they nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and to speak to what you were talking about before with tracing, I always found that was a good way to, kind of mimic your favorite artist style, because
Yeah,
also mentioned in there, that's how you want your hand to move, and like your hand isn't going to move the same way as somebody else's. You're not going to
yeah,
kickflip the same way that this person's going to kickflip. So you always got to, kind of
totally.
study it and kind of figure out how they did it and how they problem solved. So yeah, I find tracing really helpful for people that want to develop a similar style. Like for me, I'm a big fan of Ryan Stegman's work, and so I don't necessarily always trace over his work, but I'll use a lot of his uh, variants for references and everything.
Yeah, totally. And it's like always good to be like looking at your favorite artist's work and just like you said, it is like how like you're not gonna kickflip the same exact way as your favorite skateboarder is gonna kickflip. Like, but I'll
But if you
like
watch enough
yeah, I'll
enough
never have
times,
Andrew Reynolds frontside flips, but I'll watch him all day and be like, okay, how I'm gonna make it. How can I frontside flip almost like that, but make it my frontside flip?
I
So,
remember I remember the very first frontside flip that I did that felt, I guess, how Reynolds feels.
yeah,
I was playing a game of skate at Edison Skate Park with Ryan Burge. Shout out Ryan
sick,
Burge.
hell yeah,
And yeah, just busted out a frontside flip. I think I just learned them a week before, and flipped, caught it right at that 90-degree level. Felt my knees all tucked up into me, and then just
yeah.
completely turned
Like
it and just rode
tucked up.
away. Yeah.
That's sick.
One of
I
the
actually
greatest
skate with
feelings.
Ryan from time to time out here. He lives in San Francisco.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw him not too long ago when I was out there, and I believe he's got a video coming out pretty soon, which is going to be
Yeah,
sick
I
to.
filmed some VX clips with him before. Him and Paul Yo.
Nice,
Yeah, these dudes are
nice.
fun to skate with.
So how often do you get out and really get hit the streets to go film?
Um, every so often, I've been filming like a little street part with my homie Sean that
Okay,
also
all
works at
right.
NHS. So, but
So
it's like
when can we
what?
expect this part to drop?
I
When
don't
am I
know.
logging
One of
back on
those
the family
ongoing
dot com?
projects that will happen when it happens.
Yeah,
So we'll see. But
yeah,
yeah, definitely. That's definitely one of the like I think most fun parts of skate and most frustrating filming your filming video parts. But I mean, it's like doing a drawing or something like
mhm,
putting all your tricks together and like editing it and making it look really cool. Like even if your
yeah,
skating's not the greatest, like you could still make it look like really cool if you got some fun music, some fun filming, and as long as you look fun doing it, like if your drawing looks like you had a great time doing it, it's fun, then I think that's a good drawing.
yeah. And I think you touched on it a little bit earlier in the conversation, but you spend a decent more time skating than drawing, and sometimes you kind of wish that you did a little bit more than the other and all that. And I've found as I'm getting older, the joints aren't moving as much as I want them to, and I've found drawing to be that new creative outlet, especially for the long winters such as back home and everything. But even like right now, like you know if I'm hurt or if I don't have that extra hour to get out to the park or whatever, I found that drawing was that new creative outlet. And I think I believe I saw a video of Muska kind of speaking to that same viewpoint where I think he's like into sculpting now.
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
too
yeah,
sure, but he spoke to that how he's like, well, I just keep getting injured and injured, and like I need some creative output, like it's just building up in me. And he found that, and I found that really cool and a great way for people to understand, like, hey, this is how we stay sane, especially as
yeah,
skateboarders, like we always got to be moving, like
yeah, and
there's no standing still.
like kind of working towards something. Like
Yeah,
Every
Always.
trick is like almost like doing a drawing. You're busting your ass trying to do it, and then once you do it, you're like, "Oh, sick, I did it. I'm glad that's finally done." And then, like we've talked before, you start critiquing the shit out of it. You're like, "Oh man, I don't know if I like how my arm moved on that one. That was kind of awkward." And like same goes for drawing. Like, "Oh, I think I could have drawn that arm a little better." So it's like, yeah, looking at your drawings is like kind of looking at your clips, just constantly critiquing them, and then like someone else will look at your clips or your drawing and be like, "Dude, this is sick," and you're like, "Are you kidding me? No, it's not." But
Yep. Our own
but
worst enemy.
yeah,
Always.
but
So,
yeah,
but looking back at clips, and I know you mentioned that you use a lot of photos for reference. Do you ever, use yourself as reference, or look at back at your old drawings and use those as reference?
I I don't ever use reference of myself skating. I don't know that would just feel weird to me. I
I
Google like
didn't throw it out there. I felt like you didn't, but
yeah, but I'll go back and look at old drawings. Like sometimes I'll be on a drawing like even for this one, like I remember I I've drawn a ton of like barriers like this and robots doing it, and sometimes like you just haven't done it in a while, and you're like, oh, I remember this one drawing I did it. Like what you go back and look at, and like what did I do to get it to look like that way I wanted, and then you just want to like just not because you're like, oh, that was so cool what I did. It's just like, oh, you want to keep your style consistent and you want to like you've done it at one point before, like work smarter not harder. Go back and see, go back and like review your work and see what you did to get there.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Of all the problem solving and backlogging and everything. And I remember going to FDR one of the first or handful of times, and I remember I always saw this big, I guess, tag, whatever you want to call it. This big mural across the one wall. It said, "Work harder, not smarter."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, that's definitely the
Yeah.
skateboard mentality. Just go, 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 go."
Yeah. Yeah. Or what I say, I meant work smarter, not harder. But yeah,
Yeah, well,
skateboarding is
that's the
kind of
correct
like
way to
work
do it.
harder,
That's
not
the correct
smarter.
way. Yeah.
It's kind of the opposite. Whereas with drawing, try to work a little smarter,
Yeah,
save yourself some mental energy. But as skateboarders, we like to abuse ourselves and work as hard as we can for tricks sometimes. But
absolutely.
in the end, once you roll away from whatever it was you were trying, it's a pretty cool feeling. Just like putting that final mark on your drawing and being like, all right, enough of that.
Yeah. So when you're feeling pretty diminished and everything, after drawing for long periods of time or skating for long periods of time, and you start to hit that block, that lack of motivation. You ever
Hmm.
experience any of that?
Do I ever what?
You ever experience any of that?
Oh yeah, there's always a lack of motivation there somewhere. Uh, Sometimes you just gotta like accept it. I mean, there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that are like, no, you just gotta force yourself to go do it, which I've done and it's worked
Hmm.
out. But there's also times where it's like, dude, you gotta allow yourself that couch time. Like
Yeah.
it's
Allow the
okay.
brain.
Like people watch TV, it's fine. Like
Yeah.
it's
When I was just out for a wedding and a little bit of vacation, and I was working during the whole time, so I actually wasn't able to draw as much as I wanted. Although I brought my little doodle pad everywhere we went for drinks and everything, but I just wasn't getting the amount of studio time that I would here back home. So as soon as I got home and I sat down in this chair, I instantly was like, "Wow, this idea, that idea. Oh, okay, what about this? What do we do
yeah,
about that?" And it's crazy. Like I actually felt a couple of my lines when I was doing my gesture drawing practice, which
uh-huh.
that's how I start my day with my artistic day. with
Yeah.
just drawing 10 poses just to really get that rhythm out there. And after taking that break, I actually found like some of my line work was a lot cleaner and everything.
Sick.
And sometimes that break is needed, and
Dude,
the muscle
totally.
memory comes back
Yeah,
stronger than
and
ever.
sometimes like same goes for skating or drawing or whatever. Like I'll skate for like 3 weeks straight and just like by the end of those 3 weeks, just be like, dude, I can't land anything, nothing's working. Then I'll take a week off and then like I get back on the board and everything feels natural again. I'm like, oh wow, everything's working. Like same goes for drawing. Sometimes I'll like go through a period without drawing and then pick it up again, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, well, this actually came out pretty cool. Like it wasn't bad. Like you just need those mental breaks every now and then, physical,
Yeah,
mental, whichever.
yeah, absolutely. So it looks like you're getting this piece almost finalized. Got a little bit more Crete details in there. What's
Yeah.
now, not expecting you to color it on here, but if you were to color, what's your process like that look like?
Um, I think like generally I like stuff with pink in it. I like to
Yeah,
I like
nice.
blue and pink, yellow and pink, green and pink. So
Yeah, actually, I think I got a holistic T-shirt that's got a little bit like the pink in there, but I think it's more blue and yellow. That
yeah,
signature blue that you use a lot.
yeah. Yeah, for coloring. Yeah, I just like to and I'll like lay out a color palette, just um something I know that I've used before. And I'm still like I'll do like a yellow and like let's say yellow, pink, and maybe a hint of white color palette. And then I'll might even take it into Photoshop or something and then adjust the hue and saturation to see what it looks like with different like it'll like different parts of the color wheel, how different color schemes would work out. So and then like sometimes none of them hit, sometimes it does, but
You
it's
know,
kind of
color
trial and
since
error.
since you can go back and procreate and play around with it. Do you ever color a full piece and then just say F it and just go back and completely recolor it?
Yeah, and like the beauty of the computer is like if you do all your colors and like on separate layers and stuff, you could just change the colors however you want. And there's even like color palette like kind of settings in Illustrator now that I haven't really used too much. It's kind of a newer thing where it's just like it'll just generate color palettes for you. And like if you like just put a foot like that AI stuff now, like just throw a
Yeah.
photo in there, it generates a color palette based on that, which is gotta mess with it at some point. But yeah, now I'm getting to the part of the drawing where it's like, okay, all the like, sorry, I was just talking
No,
about color, but
no,
yeah, I
you're
got
good. Talk to us. Talk to us. What's the process now? And now that you've laid your first layer of inks, what's your process for fine tuning and all that?
yeah, just like I don't know, just kind of look at it now, and I'm like, all right, what do I like about it at this moment?
It's funny that you zoomed out super
Yeah,
hard to take a look at it. That's what I'll do sometimes too. Like I'll do the final pencils and then I'll just step back or lounge back in my chair just to get a far out view to see what stands out to me and all that.
yeah, and yeah, so and then turn off the this layer. Be like,
Nice.
okay, here we go. And then I like a nice, I like a thicker line, so I'll like go over it a couple times. Maybe I don't like how I want this to like maybe be more like,
Nice.
and then just like go in and edit little weird details that
That
bother
really
you, but
stand out.
probably not everyone else. I didn't like
Yeah.
how I don't know
Yeah.
his neck kind of extends too far above this for me. So
Yeah. That's where we're our own worst critic. Because
yeah,
there could be this
So
slightest little thing that nobody else sees, but it's our eye. Again,
yeah,
and that's how everyone's art differs. It's because like I'm not going to see 100% of what you see. You're not going to see 100% of what
yeah,
I see. So
exactly. And I feel like I always have to tell myself that I'm like, dude, like every time you look at someone's work, you're not seeing the art as they see. You're like seeing like what's interesting to you. And that's kind of like what building your own style is too. Like when you look at like okay, like for example, I look at a pivot fakie, like okay, what part of that photo, the pivot fakie, was like interesting to you? Like I don't know, like how to me it's like how you the whole leaning back and the or like let's say you look at like a let's say you look at like a crab's claw and you're like, okay, I'm gonna draw this claw. You're like, okay, what part of that claw stands out to you? Do you want to like really go hard on like all the little teeth on it?
yeah,
Do you want to go hard on like the shape of it? It's just it's how your brain like processes what your eyes see.
yeah, and just like we were talking about before with fine tuning. I forget what exactly how we brought it up, but with drawing and figuring out your own style or just getting back into it or into it in general, it's like just keep it simple. You don't
Yeah.
have to go in there and just start drawing every ligament, every muscle, you know,
Yeah.
of the anatomy. You can just draw
Like
a cone.
yeah, like what stands out to you and like what will get the point across. Like
Yeah, and especially if
yeah,
you're going into illustration and not so much like portrait drawing, for example. With illustrations, just keep it simple. I've experienced it when I first started drawing faces again. You draw really small and then you try and draw every little detail in there, every single eyelash. And that was actually, one tip that made me really realize it was again in how to draw the marble way was when they were talking about how to draw ladies' eyelashes.
oh yeah,
And
I know
they,
exactly what page you're talking about.
yeah, and they say just do one simple stroke, just one
Yep.
small to thin to thick line instead of trying
Yeah.
to draw them all out. And I was like, ding, 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 ding.
Yep. Yeah, it's like you're not really, especially like you said with illustration, like obviously you want it to be somewhat accurate if you're aiming for that, but you're essentially trying to tell a story like that when people look at the image, they're like, okay, that's what that is. Like
Yeah,
when people look at that eyelash, they're not gonna think, yo, where's all the separate little eyelashes? They're like, okay, that's someone's eye.
yeah.
Like
Again,
this.
the caveman drawings that they got this point across.
Yeah, exactly. Just you want the story to like be as legible to the viewer as possible. Um like the story we're telling here is like this robot. He's probably poured this barrier and like wants to do pivot fakie on it.
Yeah,
Like
he was a
you can
Crooked
read the
Chronicle
pivot fakie. Yeah.
with the opener, and he's like, "No, your pivot's all wrong."
Yeah. Yeah, like and yeah, and it's like and like we were talking before, do skateboard wheels look like this? No. If your wheels look like that, I would suggest you get some new wheels because they're highly flat spotted. But can you
Do you want to plug right there? What wheels would you recommend, Ted?
what?
He said, "Do you want to plug right there? What wheels would you recommend, Ted?"
I gotta recommend OJ's.
All right, all right.
But yeah, but no one's gonna care that it's not an accurate looking wheel. Like none of this looks accurate. Like, but it's just that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, and again, it's your own style and what makes it stand out. How you
Yeah.
problem solved, what was your perspective on it, and
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So now I'm just
So, I've seen, I've looked at your page, and you and I have, you know, known each other for a while, and you've been long at it. Do you got a favorite piece out there that you've done that you're in particularly close to interested to?
Yeah, a lot of stuff I've done at NHS, I think I'm pretty stoked on just because it's like, I don't know, the fact that it's going on these skateboard products. I'd be tripping out if my like,
Yeah.
15-year-old self saw something like
Opened up that CCS catalog and saw that.
yeah, like I have some like these are some examples I just
Nice.
pulled up right before this. So just a few things like this little robo dot I got to do for Santa Cruz that went on a kid's t-shirt. That was super fun.
I see some crab claws in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like this little tiger dot. That was fun. And that's another like fun part about working at NHS. Like this tiger here that's not necessarily like a style I'd normally draw in, but
yeah,
I was challenged to like, okay, like draw something that doesn't look like a Ted drawing. So, but then like,
don't draw it like Ted style, but draw it like Ted style.
What?
I said, don't draw it like Ted style, but draw it like Ted style.
Yeah, and one of the lead designers, he's kind of art directs, Cody. He goes by Pitchgrim on Instagram. He kind of art directed a lot of these Santa Cruz drawings. Like for this one, he was like, "Oh, dude, you should just do a Ted robot for Santa Cruz." And this one, he really worked with me to be like, "Okay, let's make something a little more like just not necessarily. It's like not necessarily the exact Jim Phillips style that Santa Cruz is known for, but something like a little more clean." And then this one, he's like, "Oh, have at it again at your own style." So, and then like same with these little trucks I did for Crux. I was like, okay, like these trucks aren't about me; they're about getting a message across to like an audience. So it's just like, oh, this was a truck for Enzo Chioletta, however you pronounce his dude, hucks himself down big stairs and smoke weed. But yeah, that was fun. Just like doing, and then this little
Taco Cat
drawing. Like, yeah, not the style I'd typically draw in, but it's still fun and still playful. And then for these like Crux bolt packaging, I drew these little comics for the like bottom of the bolt packaging that you kind of like a little Easter egg, how in like old Toy Machine videos you'd like take them apart and pull up a flap and there's like all sorts of hidden stuff. Not that these have that, but I always loved how like fun packaging like this, and I came up with this like comic for loose bolts. And kind of just got to draw it in my own quirky style. So yeah, anytime I get to do stuff like this at NHS, those are the projects I think and then they get out there in the wild, like, and people get to wear it, skate it, whatever. That gets me stoked.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, that's how I think we got reconnected after,
the van stuff. That was super fun. I loved working on all those projects. Those are some of my favorite projects too, actually.
Well, I remember, you and I skated and hung out a little bit when we were younger at Chatham Skate Park.
Yeah.
And then, a couple years went by and all that. And then I got reconnected by looking up, ideas for new promo items and everything. And I saw JD posted those koozies that you did with the skating robots on it and everything. And I was like, who the hell did this? And he's like, Ted. I was like, oh. Yeah, and it was funny, I just went through an old sketchbook on a sketchbook tour on my YouTube page. For everyone out there, they can check that out. It has some of the original sketches that I actually sent to Ted and had him, bring those to life. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a fun time. Like, That was from like what 2015 through 18. I think we were doing that. I was always so stoked when you'd hit me up with these ideas, and I'm like, oh, sick! I'm totally down. Like the that scorpion shoe,
Yep.
the scorpion high top. I loved working on that one. Like anytime I'd get an email from you about a new project, I was so psyched. Always fun.
Yeah.
And then like to see him at like Vans events and stuff, and just like I wouldn't even know the products would be there sometimes, and I'd be like, oh, that's my sticker. I did that shirt with Brad.
That's
Like,
that's my air freshener.
yeah, always a cool feeling seeing your stuff in the wild like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, slowly but surely, just like kind of
I just got hyper focused on that wheel
yeah.
and that
I keep
hanging
going
right
back to
there.
that my square wheels.
So
I
how
really
long do you usually find yourself working on a piece? You brought up you showed your gesture practice, warm up, and everything, and then you had your rough layout before inking it here today. What would you
yeah.
say is like the standard time from start to finish for you?
Yeah, remember that video I showed you? How it was 3
Mhm.
minutes long? Yeah, about that long. Just kidding. No,
I don't.
that was like a probably multiple hour process. And yeah, I feel like I know people that could just jam out drawings like that, like so quick and stuff, but I don't know. It's like the way the way the work harder, work harder, not smarter part of your
Yeah,
brain is like, no, I want to like get all this, but um no, I should be working smarter. So yeah, a couple hours. Maybe like sometimes a drawing can take me like just 1 hour start to finish, and then sometimes it could take me like it depends on the level of detail I want to put in it. Like I could add like a lot more little like parts and like mechanisms to this guy, but I'm gonna keep it fairly simple. Or like
nice.
or depending on how much like detail I want to put into it later, like how I want it. I like adding textures to my drawings once it's all linked. I could get around to that today, but that part usually takes really long. But
Yeah,
I'll get into a little bit and show you. I wouldn't want to waste everyone's time with 2 to 3 hours of stippling. Like I like sometimes I like I'll go like this and then like get in some like
some of the
like
finer details that really
something
bring it to life, make it pop.
yeah, something to suggest like shading, but
Yeah,
nothing like too overly accurate or anything. And then
switch up the brushes.
yeah, and then just a lot of process like that. And then, but I'm gonna undo all that because I'll probably want to do something, or like if I do it
Just
that
tiptoe
way,
into it.
yeah. If I do it that way, it'll take a pretty long time. Or sometimes I just like to kind of a similar thing, but just kind of like add these little like kind of not really
Hatches and
cross
all that.
hatching lines, just these little
Yeah,
hatchings, or just like kind of, or just make it real simple and just kind of like I don't know. It depends on my mood how I like feel like adding all those little textures and details.
yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think
I
the whole
find myself, yeah, I find myself driving myself crazy by starting to crosshatch or just add those little details, and then 2 hours will go by, and I'm like, I just did the bicep.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Takes
So maybe another time we'll do a full detailed segment.
yeah. Yeah, but I'm almost done at this point with like getting like where I like the line work to be. By
Yeah.
almost done, I mean like a little more work. Um just thicken up these lines a bit. Actually, like I never really talk to someone while I'm drawing, and it's actually helping me not hyper focus too much on a lot of stuff. Like how I was talking, I'll be like undo, 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 undo. Like I'm kind of just going with the flow with this a little bit more than I normally would. So thank you for letting this be a learning lesson and just rolling with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe when you're under pressure or certain timeline to get a piece out for NHS, you can just
Yeah,
hop on a call with me and I'll just talk
yeah,
you through
totally.
it. One thing that, before we start wrapping it up, one thing
Yeah.
that I found pretty crazy once I started really focusing and fine tuning my artistic abilities was the thicker lines that are for the for the objects in front, and to
Oh
do the
yeah.
thinner lines for the stuff in back. And I was like, whoa, like I don't think that doesn't work like that. Like you want you want to show the bigger things. And then when I started implementing that line weight, I was like, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. And line weight
Like even
definitely
that,
goes
like
a long
right
way.
there, like you just did that line in its crotch area, and it's already showing like how
Yeah.
that's so much further in front of the back leg, and really showing that positioning. Again, it's not fully atomically anatomically correct, but it's conveying the story in it.
Yeah. And like part of me is just like part of me is like consistent line all the way through, make it very graphic. And then like part of me is like, no, like switch up your line work. So it's one of those things like the more you work on it, the more you figure out where you like your certain line weights to be. And sometimes I just like to just go over like maybe not even go over like how I'm going over like the entire little boot thing here, just like kind of just run the pen along the outline, see how that looks, and just I actually don't like how that one looks, so I'll do it. But classic. But yeah, just like I think the feet and the board are like very important, prominent parts of this drawing. So
Absolutely. And what's funny enough is that I've done a few pieces of skateboarding. I did one not too long ago, with my buddy Jordan, and trying to draw the skateboard was just driving me bonkers. Like it would always be too long, or like the nose and tail would look so oddly shaped and everything. And it was just like, just draw a
yeah,
giant oval and draw it curved up.
yeah,
But yeah, oddly enough, trying to combine the two doesn't always work out for the best for me. So maybe that's
no,
why I haven't been doing too many skateboard pieces, but definitely need to do one again. That one was a lot of fun, and I had an idea for a series that I want to do for some of the homies back home.
what's the idea?
Oh, did you hear that?
What?
No?
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, I just.
Oh, wait, now I can't hear you.
Oh wait.
Oh, there you go. My Siri just activated. Nope,
Okay.
shit.
Siri
Okay,
messing up the flow right now.
just can't say her name.
Yeah.
So what influenced some of the other drawings, like when you're not necessarily drawing in your style, your fashion, not drawing robots and skateboarding? What else drives you to drive, and what else do you like to draw out there?
Um, I don't know. Just kind of like I like drawing goofy stuff. Like always grew up watching like cartoons and like Nickelodeon Cartoon Network. So just actually sometimes I'll like maybe have an idea for a dumb pun is in my head.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, how can I visually convey this really stupid joke I just thought up? And then and then I'm like, sometimes that's what drives me to draw. Like, oh, I just thought of like a terrible joke. I want to visually convey this to make people laugh at it or just be like, dude, what is your problem?
I remember not too long ago, I did the same thing. We were out at a cabin, and I was making buffalo chicken dip for my friends, and I convinced one of my friends that a buffalo chicken was real. She was like, "Really? I've never seen that before." So I sat there during during the evening and drew one. I think I got it saved. I got to post that and
Yeah,
put
dude,
that out there in the
that's
world.
exactly what I'm talking about. Like stuff like that, I think gets that oddly enough gets me motivated to draw sometimes, or actually more often than not.
Nice. So, what were some of your the favorite cartoons as a kid growing up?
Um, Let me think. I like Doug and Hey Arnold, all that Nickelodeon stuff, Rocket
Yeah,
Power,
nice.
um,
Of course.
Batman the
Brad
Animated
Funimation.
Series, the
Yep.
the 90s Spider-Man one,
Oh
the
yeah.
90s X-Men, all those.
You got a Disney Plus account and been rewatching any of that?
I actually a couple years ago got Batman the Animated Series, like the entire seasons, like on DVD,
Oh, tight.
and I like watched the entire thing.
Sick.
And dude, that art is so cool. What the guy's name is spacing me right now. I shouldn't. Tim, Tim. It'll come to me. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up. Batman. Bruce Tim. Yeah, his art's rad. Always loved the style he had for that show. Like it's like
The giant square chin for
yeah, and like it
Batman,
kind of goes
Superman.
across. Yeah, like it kind of like goes with what we were saying. Like just all his characters were super simply designed and stuff, but he nailed them all.
Yeah.
So another guy that does that with comics that I really like is Dan Hip. Draws a lot of like really his style goes from like detailed to like simple, but like they're all similar in a way where it's just he just nails it each time. He's not like drawing super anatomically correct like figures or
We're both
anything.
getting tongue
It's
touches with that.
yeah, but and it's like a lot of like Bruce Timm stuff too in Batman the Animated Series. Is like it's a lot of they're almost like geometric shapes. Like just a lot of
Yeah.
shapes they base their figures off of, and that was always so cool to me. Just
Nice.
breaking it down into simple shapes and just like we goes back to that caveman drawing thing, like just hieroglyphics, just nailing like that's Batman, that's Superman,
Yeah.
that's Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had I
Every
think one of the coolest designs in that show.
Oh, of course, the helmet, the
Yeah, the like
blaster,
red
the cape,
eyes, so
everything.
sick.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe I'll throw that on for when I'm drawing in December. A couple of years ago, a buddy of mine started DC December
Yeah.
and just watching purely DC movies, basically the Batman
Sick.
trilogy. But I
Right.
think for this time, last year I did a bunch of DC sketches that I have posted on my Instagram, and I was actually a big fan of those pieces. I remember the clay face that I did really
Oh
stood out
yeah.
to me, and so yeah, I think I'll go back this winter and throw on the animated series as I'm drawing and kind of look at it for reference and yeah, listen to it in the background.
Sick. And I love that show. It was like kind of dark for a kid show. The
Yeah, a little bit.
Batman animated series. I think Mask of the Phantasm, that movie they made out of it, is like one of the best Batman movies in general, not just animation, like in the animation world, just one of the best stories, and I don't know, just the visuals and everything. It just I feel like to me that's the quintessential Batman.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I rewatched the Spider-Man '90s animated series. I
Yeah.
think when it first was available on Disney, and I was like, this holds up. This
Yeah,
artwork's right.
dude, it
Like
does.
there are a lot of well-known artists that were on there, and we're really getting their art out there into the world, which is really exciting to see. And now, fast forward 2 decades later, still seeing their work out there in the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when right when COVID started, I was on the Spider-Man animated series kick. And
Nice.
like and it's cool like watching them as an adult because I feel like when you're a kid, you only see like whatever's on TV at the time. So it's like
Yeah.
cool to like see all the episodes you missed and stuff. Just like, well, you miss it 1 week, that's it. Like, gotta wait for the rerun.
Yeah. Now being able to just go back and just rewatch it
Yeah,
again and again
now we're
and again.
spoiled, and we could just watch the entire thing in like just a few sittings if we wanted to, which is
Yeah.
what I
Now
did.
now we're the generation that's going to tell the kids, back in my day, I had
Back
to
in
wait a
my
whole
day.
week,
Yeah,
whole 7 days. Now you just got to wait 7 seconds to re-click on it.
yeah.
or
And I remember like,
or actually 30 seconds for maybe whatever paid advertisement might be
yeah,
going through.
exactly.
Nice.
Yeah,
So I
you
saw
know.
you posted. I saw you posted an Inktober challenge
Oh
out
yeah,
there. You want to speak to that a little bit before we wrap
yeah,
up?
sure. Yeah, yeah. Usually every Inktober, I try to do like a new. I never followed a prompt or anything like how I know a lot of people do. Where
Hmm.
Inktober itself has its own like new prompt every year, and like other artists have their own little thing you could follow along with. But I was always kind of like, oh, I kind of just want to draw whatever I'm feeling that day. But I think this year I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of exhausted this year. I don't want to think of something brand new every day. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna stick to what I know. Skateboarding robots, make this fun and easy for myself. And try to make this fun and easy. I know it's gonna turn like
Yeah.
it's like the whole you're working harder, not smarter aspect ends up coming into it where I'm trying to work smarter, not harder, but maybe because it's like closer to me that it's skateboarding robots, I'm gonna end up working
Yeah.
harder on it than I should have. But anyway, I made each day is gonna be a different trick. Pivot fakie is actually on that list, and I'm drawing it now. So it's one of my favorite tricks in skateboarding. So I have no qualms with drawing it twice. But that's the thing about skateboarding and drawing. There's not one way to do it. There's going to be another way. And
Nice.
I don't think they'll all have this level of
Detail.
detail or anything. Not that this is like the most detailed drawing, but um, for my own sanity, a lot of them will probably be a little more simple, depending on like how much I could get to that day. But yeah,
Yeah.
I look forward to it every year. It's a good exercise, and it it definitely gets me into like it'll usually carry on after the month. Like I'll be stoked on drawing again. It gets me into the habit all over again. So um yeah, I just every year I'm like, I don't know if I'll do it this year, but every year I'm just as excited to do it as the last. So and this year the month is kind of open for me. I don't have any weddings to go to. I don't have any like events or
Same
anything.
here.
Any events to attend in October. I'm actually going to Austin tomorrow for a wedding, so
Okay.
my my schedule is completely free this October, with the exception of this Sunday and the Monday. That's when it'll be the day after the wedding, and then the day I'm flying home. So that's 2 days of Inktober. I'm gonna have to really squeeze one in there, but probably just start one on the plane and finish it the days of. But that's what's cool about Inktober too. You kind of strategize your approach a little bit.
Helps you really balance out the calendar.
Yeah. You gonna do Inktober this year?
Yeah, so actually for the Artistic Avenger Alliance, the community out there, for anyone who wants to join in the free community, they can visit radicalink.com and you can register there. So for that one, I'm kind of switching it up week by week. So the first week is going to be, the heroic icons. You got the Spider-Man, you got Batman, you got Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel. Then the next week is going to be, super villains. So it'll be the Joker, Thanos, Magneto, so and such. And then going to switch it up and kind of do more pop culture. So then it'll be groups. So it'll go from X-Men, Fantastic Four, to then pop culture, which is like Star Wars and kind of more open, Simpsons, Disney characters. And then the real fun part is going to be the last final 3 days, which will be, and I don't remember it right off the top of my head, but it'll be like a mashup, like your two favorite characters in one. And then a fan favorite where like you ask the homies, like, who do you want to see me draw?
Sick.
And then the other one, like a character of your own. So
hell yeah, that's a good idea. Looking forward to seeing all your drawings.
Yeah, I'm planning it out myself because although it is October is a wedding-free month for me as well, and pretty open. I know that gonna hit bumps and snags and work's gonna be.
Life still happens even if you have nothing planned. That's pretty much what life is. Things happening without you planning for it.
Yeah, so I'm still debating how I want to go about it, and I got only a few days left, so I really got to make a decision. But yeah, I was thinking about just doing, maybe grabbing a brush pen and then just kind of doing it how I've been doing the speed sketching with the gesture drawing, and kind of just going at it that way and trying to do it, do each one within like the maximum of 10 to 15 minutes. But then I know that there's going to be that part of my brain that's like, nope, I have this idea and I need to position.
You want to take the finish.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, I'm going to be down here until 3 a.m. and then I'm going to wake up completely exhausted. But it's fine because I know that I got it on my head.
Exactly. 1 second. I really got to go to the bathroom. Can I step away for a minute?
Well, actually, why don't we take a look at this? And because I do think it is a pretty well done piece, and I actually got to run myself.
All right.
Yeah, I think this is great. I think it turned out awesome. And any quick shout outs you want to throw out there before I wrap up?
All the homies, mom, dad, NHS Inc. art department, love you all, and the entire fam there, and friends, family, everything. Too many names to think of.
Right on, Ted. All right, well, thanks for joining me tonight. Hope to do it again soon. I'll talk to you probably later tonight. And go pee. Later. And so there you have it, folks. Ted Cocuzza, artist of skateboarding robots. And if you want to see more of his work, be sure to check out uSweesh on Instagram. And if you want to see more of my work, follow me at The Artistic Avenger or subscribe to my channel. And if you want to elevate your artistic skills and abilities, I highly recommend checking out my Artistic Avenger program, which you can find in the link below in the description. Until next time, stay radical.